Brown and Terry King. No, you don't really don't need a bio. When you talk about the corruption in Louisiana, this region, exposing what happened from the DA's office to the court system and the whole political system in St.TammanyParish, Nicole, you're looking at two of the people who are on the point for exposing corruption, protecting the tax dollars, protecting our folks' right, whether you were complicit or corrupt, just not acting in the best interest of the people. Belinda Parker Brown and Terry King have been leaders in that effort, not only in St. Tammany Parish, but throughout Louisiana. And guys, just on another note, I want to give our heartfelt condolences to the families of Lloyd Edwards, one of the first black cameramen with our news stations, Joanne Goodwin, the wife of Walter Goodwin of the great Ninth Ward Goodwin family, friends with my family, and of course, Clarence C. Ray Nagin, Senior. But guys, welcome back to the Good Morning Show.
Thank you very much.
We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, good morning.
Nice to meet you. I'm
Oliver. You know, and we don't have much time, so we're going to jump right into it. And I know that, you know, you both are friends to the show. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about anti-corruption here. We're talking about government corruption.
Absolutely. And especially in St. Tammany Parish.
Oh, especially in why especially
out of
in
all
St.
64 parishes in the state of Louisiana, St. Tammany used to be the most corrupt parish.
Oh, used to be. How is it now?
Well, because then it was yes to the good old boys. And you better had said yes to the good old boys and H to the no to everybody else.
Do you feel like that's what's happening in the Capitol right now, that people are being forced to say yes to the good old boys?
Absolutely. You know, in St. Tammany Parish, you better had said yes. If not, you might have been snatched up by the back of your neck and thrown in prison 25 years to life. And they were serious about it and very notorious, especially when it came to the lead district attorney, Walter Reed, and the most corrupt sheriff that we ever heard of, Jack Strain, that's going to be spending the rest of his life in prison.
In solitary.
Yes.
So Belinda and Terry, talk about this effort. Which started, because it's been a while since you guys have been on the show, right? At one time, y'all were one of the most popular segments on WBOK, especially when we were going through this ordeal. What started this?
Well, my wife worked for a corrupt coroner. And they fired her when she refused to commit grant fraud.
Right.
And
really?
I took exception to that. And then as we went to the EEOC, I found out that he was hugging and kissing her and sexually harassing her at work, and she'd never mentioned that to me. And so that forced me to either take matters into my own hands, which is a 10-year felony, and I didn't really enjoy the idea of that, or to do something about it legally. And then as we got into this and dealing with the lawsuits and getting all the information and providing that information to Lee Zurich and, doing that whole Galvin story, ultimately I met Belinda. And, so Galvin goes to jail, which that's pretty much what my book, Dead People, Crazy People, Drugs, and Politicians is about. But during that whole experience, I was introduced to Belinda and realized that so many other people had had horrible things done to them as well. And then it was incumbent upon people like me who had an understanding of how you can do something like this to work with Belinda and her group to bring some justice to these people that are being taken advantage of.
And it created this ebony and ivory effort, right? And Belinda, specifically for you, you were talking about the injustice, and they were calling it St. Calamity, right?
Yes.
For black folk, right? And talk about how that led you to uncover some of the biggest cases of corruption and some of the highest offices in the history of this country. But it was really, you were just fighting for justice for your community and your people.
Absolutely. Oliver, when it comes to St. Tammany Parish, they had everybody knew about it. Everybody knew that, Jack Strain and Walter Reed, were some powerful people. you know, in the corner, the three most powerful people in your community. Everybody was talking about it, but nobody was doing anything about it. You know, when I began to see, you know, Jack Strain came out in national news and he made a statement, okay, that if you come over here, talking about the people from New Orleans, if you come over here from New Orleans, basically, and with your chiwis and your dreadlocks, we gonna get you. We gonna lock you up and we gonna throw the key away. And they was serious about that.
Just to give us context, how long ago was this?
That was 07 when he made that comment, I believe.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
2007, right after Katrina.
Right after Katrina, 2007. Okay,
Yes.
so I mean, it still wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
No. It
And
wasn't.
we got started on Galvin, I think, in 2009, and it has been a steady fight ever since then. And I mean, we've been very successful in removing people from office, getting them convicted, trying to bring some justice to these people. And, you know, I think we have 29 convictions so far. Some of them are outside of St. Tammany, obviously.
You know, what the whole world need to know is that, you know, St. Tammany was, you know, a very conservative, you know, population. And they had it fixed how they wanted it to be and how they was determined to make sure it stayed that way. And it was all about their gravy train. And they, by any means necessary, anybody that would try to interrupt that or bring any type of, just say for instance, just like, you know, if you were black in St. Tammany Parish and you had a logging company and you were very successful, okay, they would make sure that they was going to kick your dough in, put a charge on you, make up a charge on you, steal all of your stuff, okay, and then sell it on the sheriff tax sale to the sheriff would sell it to one of his relatives,
The Commissioner of
and put
Agriculture.
you in prison for 25 years.
And so what we go through in the book is talking about how the process that they used to do this. I mean, they brought criminal charges against my wife and I.
Yeah.
And, you know, we defeated that, and we got the law struck down as
But
being
you guys were
unconstitutional.
threatened. I mean, your
Oh,
lives
yes, absolutely.
were in jeopardy.
Both of us.
Yes.
She had charges brought against,
Yeah.
your son.
Yeah, I want to say this. I was challenged because, you know, one of the assistant sheriff said, well, if it's so bad over here, Miss Parker Brown, if it's so you say there's so many things going on, you know, because right now they beating up people on the street, they beating
This
and
is in
raping
St.
people
Tammany
in
here.
St.
Yes.
Tammany Parish. The police beating them up on the street.
Currently,
on the
this is not
traffic stop.
2007. This is 2004.
Yeah, this is still going on.
It's
Yeah.
still going on. And then the beating them up and raping them inside the jail. The jail was a godforsaken hellhole. Okay, and then we nicknamed, you know, the squirrel cages that they would put people in there and leave them in there for weeks, butt naked, defecating on themselves. Okay, and so we was complaining about, you know, the food that they was feeding people with stuff crawling around in the food, and how people were being treated in that godforsaken hellhole jail. And we said something needs to be done, so we decided to have a protest because they said, well, if it's so bad over here, we don't see nobody protesting, you know. So we decided to have a protest. We could not protest at the jail because the jail is private property. So we decided to protest at the courthouse. They came out and arrested my son because they said, get off of our land. Okay. They arrested my son and they put him inside of the very thing we were out there protesting against. One of those squirrel cages. Now my son is 285 pounds, stand 6'5", and they put him in one of those squirrel cages. What the size of those squirrel cages were, Terry?
They can't be more than 24 inches.
Right.
I mean, they're small.
Yeah, small. So that put the gasoline on my fire to go after, you know, this corruption that was taking place in St. Tammany Parish.
So let's bring us to where we are now. And I know you guys were caught in traffic, so maybe we'll have to do another show. But this is too important. The work that you guys did a decade ago helped to clean up a lot of corruption. So where are we now? We see now that the parish is back in the news. again. And so it's evidently the fight is not over, Terry?
I've been busier in the last 3 weeks than I have been since the very beginning of the strain stuff. It's crazy what's going on right now.
Well, tell us some of the things going on right now.
So there's some issues right now, obviously with the coroner's office, which isn't really what everybody believes it is. The current coroner was accused of molesting a child 24 years ago, which he claims that he didn't. The DA's office in New Mexico didn't bring charges against him because they didn't have the evidence. And the former coroner was upset that the current coroner qualified to run for his job, so he fired him. 5 days after he fired him, or some short period of time, he contacted the court in New Mexico to ask for these records, which were under seal because there's sex crime allegations, and told them that he needed this because he was supervising this man and wanted to see what kind of risk he might have. He even signed a non-disclosure agreement, gets the records, and then he sent it to WWL. So, I mean, he violated the law to do that. This is all going to unwind publicly with this. And I don't think that the previous coroner, Charles Preston and Robert Sigilito, could end up facing some serious legal implications with that.
Because they went against the non-disclosure agreement.
Yes, they willingly did that.
Even if this man was found guilty of...
He was not found guilty.
He was not...
Yeah,
okay.
the charges were dismissed with prejudice.
I got you.
So Belinda Parker Brown and Terry King, being familiar with you guys working, first of all, it's been stellar, right? Y'all have made a difference. Most people think that the only bad parish is Orleans Parish, right? But y'all have brought a light, in many cases, to areas that they would never have been uncovered.
That's correct.
Talk about this movement and how it still continues, right? But also your book,
Yes.
Terry, that you wrote, and Belinda Parker Brown, the amount of pressure that has been on your family. Terry, talk about writing the book and how impactful has that been?
For me, it was very cathartic because, I mean, I had obviously been down.
What's the name of the book?
Dead People, Crazy People, Drugs, and Politicians, which is really a tip of the hat to the coroner's office because that's all associated with that. But it was very cathartic for me to write it because of all the attacks that I had endured from the corrupt machine over in St.TammanyParish. And in that, I explained kind of everything that happened with us and how we were able to collect this information and work with the media, just like yourself, to get the information out there so that people would be willing to do something about it, and how we were able to work with law enforcement to force them to kind of investigate these people that they really didn't want to investigate.
Belinda Parker Brown, was there ever a sense, and you never said that I told you so, because if they had started doing the work when you first started sounding the alarm on WBOK and to whoever would listen, a lot of people wouldn't have been hurt.
Absolutely.
A lot of tax dollars wouldn't have said. How does that make you feel to know that you started this effort years before the federal government or law enforcement actually did anything?
I am so grateful to WBOK, Oliver, and yourself. We really appreciate you all so much, because when no one would listen, when we were sounding the alarm, WBOK was here for us. I want to even give shout out to Gerard Stevens. That brother, he was there for us. You allow us the opportunity to have our voices heard, and that meant a lot, because had that not happened, I don't think we would have been as successful as we were to be able to get the proper authorities to come in and do the investigation and get these people indicted and out of our community.
And she makes a very good point there, because individually we only have one voice, but whenever we work with people like y'all, it goes out to hundreds of thousands.
Stronger together, for sure.
Absolutely
stronger together. For you, Ms. Brown, and the work that you've done, can you tell us how, and I know you're doing work now not just in St. Tammany Parish, but throughout the state?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the corruption going on throughout the state. How does, especially with St. Tammany Parish, how do the other political leaders in other parishes help to support what's going on in St. Tammany Parish?
It's interesting that you say that, because the other day, obviously the governor came out with this bill. He was going to try to change the access to public records. Just so happened that I have an office in Baton Rouge, so I was going up there anyway. And we dropped off 200 copies of my book at the legislature, and they placed it on everybody's desk in there. And we had a letter in there where we were asking for a permissive bill so that we could have an inspector general's office in St.TammanyParish. Well, at 5:30 that day, the governor called Rick Franzo, the president of Concerned Citizens of St. Tammany, and asked him for our help in redrafting that legislation so it would be more acceptable for the people in the state. And I thought that was very interesting because we'd never worked with any type of legislation like that in the past. And
I will also want to add to that. One of the things that put us on this quest is you follow the money, you find the corruption. And if you look at St. Tammany Parish, it was the most richest parish in this whole state. Okay, and you look at the leadership in our government and where they came from. Okay, so the roots go deep when we talk about the good old boys, and we begin to kind of unravel some of those
Belinda
individuals.
Brown, and first of all, you guys have been heroic. Two of my favorite people in the world, right? But this black woman in one of the wealthiest, most conservative, predominantly white parishes took a lot of risk. There's
Yes.
still a lot of risk. There's still a lot of cost. How do you overcome that?
Oliver, I'm very passionate about the work that I do, and I take it personal when people are being done wrong. And this Terry King, conservative white guy, they came after all the black people first, and when they ran out of black ones, they began to go after people like him. And had this not happened to him, he probably wouldn't be sitting here today with me.
Well, then let me ask you
That's for
something,
sure.
Mr. King, because I think that's important to note. How do we get more people like you to see this before something happens to them?
read Dead People, Crazy People, Drugs, and Politicians.
Okay.
I have a blueprint on how other organizations can do the same thing that we did. That's in the appendix in the back.
But I'm going to say that because that's powerful, right? Damn, we don't have a look. In 1 minute, right? So here's this conservative white guy, right? You're watching St. Tammany. You're watching Belinda Parker Brown. Talk about the power in this merger, though, and how you guys have accomplished more together than staying in your ideological lane.
Well, we could never have been, or I could never have been successful as an investigator without having informants come to me. Right. The informants, or most of the informants who were having issues, fell into two camps. They were either poor black people and poor white people, or they were law enforcement. And so none of them were going to come to me. So I needed recruiters to go out and bring people, build trust with them, and then they could bring them to me. And I had another guy who brought law enforcement people to me. And so that really worked. People needed to be comfortable with me.
Wow, we got to end this segment.
I know, this is quick.
What they say, this the tea here, right? Oh, my. Hey, look. This is a filmmaker, right?
I
No.
OT gonna have me overworked and overbooked. I love it.
We got it, baby. We got some archives.
No,
baby.
this sounds
Shake
like
it.
a project on the
No, it does. It sounds great. Sounds like something I'm working on.
Lord, a documentary, no doubt about it. And I'm serious. Time and talent, God brings it together. Look, not the side porch or the back porch, but the front porch. Man, I love it when folk come together. Terry King and Belinda Parker Brown, from different cultures, different races, different communities, but came together to make a difference. So if we can use that example as the example for how we can change this world and change our heart, change our minds, maybe it'll even change our politics.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Wow.
WBOK, 12:30 a.m.
It's your station. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Mother's Day.
I got another
Happy Mother's Day to you. Happy Mother's Day.
I love you all. Thank you so much, Oliver. We appreciate you.
Filmmaker